1982, they tracked for how long a middle manager held on to the same job in the same company. In 1982, the number used to be about 6 years. A middle manager would hold on to the same job in the same company. In 2017, it was 1.8 years. In 2018, 1.6 years. People on average hold on to the same job in the same company for a much shorter time than they used to. Why is that? Why is that? I gave you numbers before we went on break about employee engagement. 25% of all employees, I said, actively disengaged, at work, looking for work, right? The remaining 25%, they showed up to work, they put in, they did enough to survive, just not enough to get fired, kind of thing, right? So half of the world's population sitting in boardrooms or sitting in cubicles around the world, disengaged. Whose fault is that? Theirs or ours? The millennials, and I keep saying millennials because 50% of the workforce by the year 2020, by next year, will be millennials. Almost half of the world's population will be people born in the 1980s. The mindsets are different, their attention spans are shorter, the management strategies of the past clearly do not work today. Let me ask you a question on a topic we've done a lot of research on. Love to hear from you about stress. Anybody stressed a little bit these days? Anybody stressed a little bit? If you find somebody in Dubai, Abu Dhabi who's not stressed, please let me know. I want to find somebody. Stress. Would you say that today as a society, all of us together, would you say that we're today more stressed than our parents' generation or we were 30, 40 years ago? What would you say? Are we today more stressed than they were? If you say yes, just shout out why. Why are we today more stressed than 20, 30 years? What's the reason? What do you think? Anybody like to shout out? Why are we more stressed?
Too many things to do.
Too many things to do. Competition.
Dynamism.
Okay, dynamic.
Media.
Right? The social media. Everybody has a great life except me. Everybody's on vacation except me. That kind of stuff, right? So we know more, so we want more. People say technology, phones are getting smarter, people are getting dumber, what's going on? Here's what I think. There's about 1,100 PhD papers written on the topic of organizational stress. No conclusion yet. I'll tell you what I think. I think today we are the most stressed society that's ever existed because we are the most selfish society that's ever existed. Everything we do is for me, myself, my family, and I. Where real happiness comes not from fulfilling your own needs, it comes from fulfilling the needs of someone else. Hence my link to ask you, are you managers or leaders? Managers do performance management, performance monitoring, that kind of stuff. Leaders create other leaders. Have you created other leaders in your team, or are you busy managing things? Let me tell you, sorry to tell you guys, the world of KPIs is dead. Smart objectives. Remember smart objectives? MashaAllah, smart objectives. Let's talk about KPIs for a second. Well, what's KPIs? What do KPIs stand for? KPIs, key performance indicators, right? So here's what's happening with the millennials. Here's what we're finding out. You limit these people to KPIs, their engagement, their creativity, innovation, their ability to. Four Seasons Hotel, just down the street here. We did some work for them about a year and a half ago. They said our customer service scores are going down, can you come do some focus groups, that kind of stuff. Here's what we found out. The front desk people at Four Seasons, this was their KPIs. Pick up the phone before it rings 5 times, say good morning 100 times before noon, that kind of stuff, right? Here's what we found out. The moment they picked up the phone before it rang 5 times, the moment they picked up and they said good morning 100 times before noon, their willingness and desire to do anything above that was 0. So they said things like, I've done my job. I don't get paid more to do this. It's not part of my job description. Like loser talk, right? The moment we elevated their thinking from KPIs to KRAs, key result areas. So we said from now on, Kashyap, you're not responsible for KPIs. Your key result area is customer service. So we're going to do whatever it is that you need to do. Get us a high customer service score. What we found out that not only did you pick up the phone before it rang 5 times, not only did you say good morning 100 times, you went, how are you, sir? How did you define it? You were looking for, would you like to take you back to the car? Would you like to have some juice? Meaning people went above and beyond when their mindset was elevated from KPIs to KRAs. a big asterisk left brain accounting footnote. This does not apply to everyone. Some people still need KPIs. There's a level of maturity required. But generally with the millennials, elevate the conversation. Smart objectives. What was SMART? What did SMART stand for? What's the S in SMART? You all know what was it? Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic. The world's moved from smart to smart-term objectives. The world's moved on. What's a smart objective? I would like to increase my sales by 20% in the next 6 months, boss. Did anybody ever ask why? Why would you increase your sales by 20%? Because you said so. The world's moved on in leadership from smart to smarter. What do you think the E and the R stand for? Left brain, accounting friends, think right brain. What do you think the E and the R stand for? What do you think the E and the R stand for? Why would somebody do something?
Engage.
Very close. Exciting and rewarding. Exciting and rewarding. If you can't make an objective exciting and rewarding, why would they do it? The new age leader is one that's elevated from KPIs to KRAs, from smart to smarter objectives. They are figuring out what's the stress level in my team. Culture, culture, culture. Great leaders set culture. Mao Zedong, the great Chinese leader, said, when a great leader's finished his or her work, everyone will say, I did it myself. Anybody familiar with the left brain and the right brain? Are you all familiar with the left brain and the right brain? What kind of thinking comes from the left brain? What kind of thinking from the left brain? Left brain is logical, factual, scientific, mathematical, engineering, accounting, mashallah, that kind of stuff. What about right brain? What kind of thinking from the right brain? What about the right brain? Creative, artistic, emotional, feely, touchy, care-bear, smurf kind of stuff, right, from the right brain. Let me ask you whether you went to school in Pakistan or any other part of the world, what part of the brain do they develop in our typical school system? Left brain or right brain? Typical school system, left or right?
Left.
Somebody said neither the other day, which could also be in a typical school system, we develop the left brain, right? So we grew up to be accountants and doctors and engineers and so on, because nobody develops the right brain, creativity, vision, emotional intelligence. We don't teach this stuff, then we say, oh, हमारे leaders कहाँ हैं? हमने उनको नर्सरी में मार दिया. Right? You don't develop strategic thinking. You develop operational mindsets. Guess what you get? Anybody have young children here under the age of 10? Raise your hand, young children. It should be a yes/no question, hopefully. Let me ask you, if your son or your daughter come home from school, they show you the report card. The report card says A, C, F. Okay? Be honest, what's the first thing you see on the report card? Where do your eyes go? What's the first thing you see? Why? Philosophical question for you guys. Philosophical question. Why do our eyes go towards the F? Why? Like why don't we say you had a B in physics last time, an A now, a C in chemistry, now it's an A. Why do our eyes go toward it? Philosophical question.
You're worried.
You're worried. Result-orientated. Fear of failure, negative. Look, my friends, important stuff, okay? Stay with me. We are left-brained, problem-solving people. Our eyes look for gaps. And one day we become managers, walking around trying to find people doing something wrong. Because we need to fix things. And sometimes managers, when they can't find things to fix, they break things so they can fix them. Manager, fix things. In a typical performance appraisal, how much time gets spent on what went well, how much time gets spent on what you could do better is. Why do our eyes go towards the F? Managers walk around trying to find people doing something wrong. Leaders walk around trying to find people doing something right. Recognition, appreciation. The world is changing. Big Four, big accounting, auditing, financial accounting firms, please listen. The world is changing. The world of leadership and management is changing. It's been exponentially pushed by the millennials. There's a fantastic graph that we saw kind of what was happening to technology and so on. There was a graph we looked at what's happening to public policy and what's happening to technology, and all the graphs are like this. You know what was the graph that was the last one that was like barely, it's not even moving, it's flat? You know what that was? Managerial behavior. Where managers kept saying things like, when I was your age, please, the next time you find yourself saying, when I was your age, please check yourself. It's not about you, it's about them. If you want to get an engaged workforce, make it about them. Interesting, sir, you mentioned about positivity and negativity. Let me ask you guys a question. Positivity and negativity. Do you think, is this something we are born with, or is it something we learn? What do you think, positivity or negativity? What do you think? Learn, nature, nurture. About 600 PhD papers written on this topic, no conclusion yet. You can see the trend. Right? Here's the bottom line. I think human beings are positive creatures. I think we wake up every day thinking that today will be better than yesterday. But then something happens to us, right, where we become negative. Do you know any negative people in your life? Do you know any negative people in your life?
Any?
Do you know any people in your life where your success makes them unhappy, mad, or sad? That it's not enough that they succeed. For it to be a great day, you have to fail also. That's a great day. I'm going to say this in Urdu a little bit. मुझे उसने बताया था, उसने कहा पाकिस्तानी कभी कोई माइंडसेट ऐसे हो जाते हैं कि अगर मेरे पास एक भैंस है और मेरे नेबर के पास एक भैंस है तो मेरी दुआ नहीं करूंगा, मेरे पास दो भैंस है तो मैं उसकी भैंस मार दूंगा. Right? I'll explain that. Right? So all of that to say the mindset of negativity and positivity. Human beings, we are the most gullible, most impressionable mammal there exists. We become a product of the environment we are in. Warren Buffett says, you will become an average of the closest 5 people you surround yourself with. You become the average income, IQ, lifestyle of the closest 5 people you associate with. That's why I find it funny when people say, all my friends are losers. You will become an average of your environment. Negative or positive. British Airways, Heathrow Airport, Terminal 5, they did an experiment recently. People were complaining that their bags weren't on time. So as an experiment, people got to the belt, the bags weren't there, they'll have to wait 10 minutes. As an experiment, they started parking the plane 10 minutes further away. By the time people got to the belt, their bags were there. They're like, this is fantastic service, fantastic, great service, right? Same time. But the perception is, I get there, my bags are there. At Waitrose and Sainsbury, the grocery stores, the day they play more French music, they decorate the shop in a French way, they sell more French products. The day they play Italian music, they sell more Italian. Your employees and your staff will become a product of the environment you are in. Countries become the embodiment of their environment. People start saying things like change is coming, people start believing it. Unfortunately, sometimes in our part of the world, and I'm generalizing because there's a lot of good things happening as well, people say things like, "Aise kuch nahi hona, Pakistan mein kuch nahi badlna." And then you see people who are actually making change, right? Only people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones that actually do. Important themes of leadership and management, about stress, about fear. You know, the reason why I believe there is such a high level of employee disengagement, and I'd love for you to ask this question. For those of you who manage your own teams, you can have this conversation with your team tomorrow, okay? Remember this. Simon Sinek, maybe you've heard of him before, he was an occupational psychologist, he was doing his PhD, he started off when I was doing my doctoral work. Today he's got 7 million followers on YouTube. I think I have 7. Parents are 2 of them. Even they block. Anyway, so Simon Sinek speaks about the why, the what, and the how, right? What does this mean? He says every organization has a why, a purpose, why they exist, right? So, Disney, make people happy. Walmart, give ordinary people the opportunity to buy like rich people. 3M, to solve the world's unsolved problems innovatively. Virgin Atlantic, to create a profitable airline where people love to fly and love to work, right? The why they exist, right? if you want to create an engaged team, first of all, please figure out the why for your team, the why your team exists. Okay, the why. Not the vision statement, but the why people show up to work every day. The why. If as a manager, as a leader, this is high-level stuff, stay with me, important stuff. If as a manager, as a leader, you can align your people's why with the organization's why, that's where you get magic. Remember that janitor at NASA, right? They asked him, what are you doing here? He said, I'm sending a man to the moon. Hey, janitor. Because his purpose became aligned with the organization's purpose, with the team's purpose. If we were to go ask your team, what's their purpose? Would they know? Leadership in the new era is about helping people discover their purpose. Not this KPI, smart objective, transactional, how many calls did you make, how many appointments did you book, how many deadlines, project driven. I'm not saying we don't do performance management. I'm saying this obsession with 99% performance management, 1% culture setting has to change. Let me ask you a question. We've got some senior people in this room. Be honest when I ask you this question. What percent of your day-to-day work today is spent strategic? What percent is spent operational? And what percent of your time is spent forwarding, escalating, emailing, forwarding, following up? And what percent of your time is spent thinking that decisions I'm making today, how will they impact our business 3 to 5 years from now? On average, what would you say? What percent of your time is spent fixing things?
90 to
10,
10.
80, 20, right? So for the past 12 years, I must have trained over 22,000 people in 52 countries from around the world. Here's what leaders will tell you in honesty. The senior most people will say, actually, about 90% of my time is spent fixing things, operation. And then one day, they'll rent a nice hall room like this, wall get together, get dressed up for all day. We're going to have a strategy day. Omar, can you come facilitate strategy day? And all we talk about is operations. Always. Then we go back and we say, let's fix it again. Kodak, BlackBerry, Nokia. How many examples do we need to know of companies that if you do not change, if you do not evolve, you will get changed. That pain. Remember that exercise that you did where human beings associate the word change with loss? Have you developed yourself? In the past 5 years, have your management styles changed? I'll spend the next 10 minutes or so speaking about a critical part of what leadership is. I believe leadership is. Love to hear your thoughts. May I ask you, how many fears do you think a human baby, a human child, how many fears is a human baby born with? How many fears?
0.
Well, our research has shown that a human baby is born with 3 fears. We are born with the fear of loud noise. We're born with the fear of falling. So heights is an innate fear. And we're born with the fear of drowning. Babies hold their breath underwater. Every other fear you learn. And you know when you learn it? You know something crazy? You know when you learn it? Between the ages of 2 and 6. That's it. That's it. Plus minus. Think about it. Now, you might realize those fears later, right? So, like fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of public speaking, which the other day I read ranks higher than the fear of burning to death. For some people. So we were not born with it, we learned it, right? So you sit in class and the teacher says, can you say something? And you say, oh, I hate it. You're like, what about you? Me too, you too, me too, me too, me too. Well, you must be normal then. So we make these fears rational. There is one fear. Leaders of tomorrow will answer this question for their employees. One fear. The fear that paralyzes us. Paralysis by analysis. Fear of failure. Remember, my friends, failure is a better teacher than success. how many hypo programs I do, high performer programs, all these nicely dressed, sharp, young looking people sitting in rooms. They attend these hyper programs I should, and they go in the real world. And people ask them to make decisions, and they can't make decisions. Paralysis by analysis. What if we would, let's hire a consultant. Let's do mystery shopping, market research, and let's do it again. When the Fortune 500, the biggest 500 companies in the world, the CEOs were asked the question, what's missing from your boardroom? What's the one quality missing from your senior managers, from your team? You know what they said? Decision makers and risk takers. They said our boardroom is full of people where nobody wants to make a decision anymore. But CC enough people on every email something goes wrong. Whose decision? Management decision. Which management? Do you have fear of failure? Wallah, your people will have fear of failure if you have fear of failure. Your people will become a reflection of you. Your people will become a reflection of you. Good or bad. Fear of failure. You know palliative care is palliative care. Have you heard this word? Palliative care? Ikram knows obviously. Palliative pain management, right? So the doctor gives somebody 3 or 6 months to live. People who are dying, basically. So they did a survey in 26 palliative care units around the world. And they asked people who are dying, what's your biggest regret in life? You know what they said? Their biggest regret. What do you think it was? What could be your regret? What do you think was the biggest regret of the dying? What do you think? Take a guess.
I think one of the things could have been, I believe, that they did not take the risk of doing what they wanted to do.
So number 3 was, I wish I'd spent more time with my loved ones, was number 3. You know, number 2, I was surprised actually. Number 2 was religion. I wish I was more religious. Because you know, when the plane hits turbulence, we all become a little bit more religious, right? We all become a little bit.
Only religious.
You know what number 1 was? I wish I'd taken more risk. I wish I started that project. I wish I would have started that business. I wish I would have asked her to marry me. I wish I was so busy living my life with a fear of failure that I never did the things I wanted to do. I ask you a question. Please give me the real answer, not the right answer. Why do you think most managers that you've come across, mashallah, we've got such a wide variety of experience in this room, why do you think most managers find it difficult to ask their employees, tell me Ahmad, tell me Muhammad, how do you feel about what you do? Why is that a difficult question to ask? Why is it easier to ask, so a project completed, a deadline met, reporting finished on time? Why is that an easy question? Why is it a more difficult question to ask? Tell me, how do you feel about your work? Why is it a difficult question to ask? Love to hear from you. Why is it a difficult question to ask about how do you feel about what you do?
You may not like what they
You may not like the answer. If they say, actually, I hate you, and I hate this department and this company. So better to say, everything okay? KPI is smarter. Anybody else? Why? Do you ask that question?
Sometimes.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, I mean, it's similar to what he said, it's inability to manage expectations. So sometimes that's again a risk of failure. That you risk the failure of managing his or her expectations.
Yeah, so if they say something you can't have anything to do with, so better not to ask.
Well, if someone asks this question, you'd be surprised if you would have no answer.
Isn't that right?
Never thought
By the way, so you go home from the session, you say, look, I went to a training, so tell me how you feel about what you do. Be prepared that in the beginning your employees will be like, everything is okay, boss? Because just like you're not trained to ask, they're not trained to answer. Are you going to coach your people to create a culture where people thrive and not just survive? And I'm not talking about some, Smurf world. Look, we've got some left-brain accounting people in the room, right? So I know some of you might challenge this. Oh, but listen, buddy, I love what you're saying, but listen, all this honey-feely, touchy culture stuff, it has nothing to do with bottom line and efficiency and productivity and deadlines and numbers. If you ever have somebody challenge you, go on Google and Google something called the Lesado line, L-E-S-A-D-O. Professor Lesado from France spent 7 years studying over 100 teams in 57 companies, and he wrote a doctoral research paper this big with a regressional analysis to prove that people who feel great about what they do produce great results. People who feel great about what they do produce great results. Our attitudes are at the heart of how we work. Over the past 12 years, I've been doing management consultancy. Obviously, I'm working from the Gadland platform, as some of you are aware of. I'd love to talk to you guys if you want more information on this. Over the past 12 years, we have seen with our own eyes where culture comes before strategy. Culture will eat strategy for breakfast. Culture will eat strategy for breakfast. You got hired on your IQ, you will get promoted on your EQ. You got hired on your IQ, you will get promoted on your EQ. What you knew got you here. How you deal with who you know will get you promoted. EQ over IQ. One more question I have for you. What is the level of trust in your teams? What is the level of trust? Is this a conversation you have? Imagine running a board meeting. Imagine running a meeting where you talk about, guys, what's the level of trust we have in this room? Difficult questions, right? Easier to ask. So can we follow up on that report? Can you show me a map? We had two fantastic speakers talk to us about evolution and change. I promise you, in the next 5 years, we won't need managers. We don't need you. We have computers who can do the job better than you. Performance management, appraisal, bell shape. Leaders, we will need. Leaders, we will need. Leaders, we don't have enough of. In companies like Coca-Cola and so on, I had a great privilege of traveling and training some of these companies. When I train, I learn more from them than I teach them. I appreciate it. Here's what I'm learning. The organizations of the future, when you ask for promotion, the first question they ask you is, can you give me an example of how in the past 6 months you've lived the values of our organization? Can you give me an example of if you prepared 3 people in your team who can take your place tomorrow? So the best sales person does not become a sales manager. Why do you want to become a manager? Why? Next position, boss? Next salary? Anybody can become a manager. Not everyone can become a leader. Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid says, when times are good, everyone's a leader. मुश्किल फैसलों का वक्त आ जाए, then you need leadership. Are you a leader? Have you made difficult decisions? Have you created other people in your team? Have you created those who are the best versions of themselves, not of you? Have you created others who are the best versions of themselves? Do you have people in your life who go somewhere and say, I had a great manager once, he or she changed my life? Or will they say, I had a manager, KPIs the पूरी हमारी हो गई. हर साल ऑब्जेक्टिव मीट होता था. ये तो किसी को याद नहीं रहेगा. और शायद आपको भी याद ना. People in life remember you not for what you do for them. They remember you for how you make them feel. People in life remember you not for what you do for them. They remember you for how you make them feel. How do you make other people feel? Do people come to work looking forward? And I know it's work, right? So in some parts of it, suck. It's okay. But is there engagement in your team? Do people kind of fired up, ready to go? If your employee engagement scores in your team are lower, if you're not figuring out what the stress level is in your team, if you've not asked them about their purpose, their why, if you've not asked the question about their fear, it's not their fault, it's your fault. Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. Be the change you want to see. Last question. Authority. This word authority. Where does authority come from? Like, why would somebody listen to you? Like, why would somebody listen to you? Where does authority come from? Authority. Where does authority come from? Why would somebody listen to you? Where does authority come from? Take a shot. Why would somebody listen to you? Where does your authority come from?
Position?
So structure. So some structure gives authority. Somebody made you my boss. Allah made you my boss, so I will listen to you.
Credibility.
So we say experience or knowledge gives authority. So structure gives authority. You're a pilot longer than I've been. You're an engineer, doctor longer than I've been. I give you respect. So structure gives authority. Experience, knowledge gives authority. Anything else?
Moral authority.
Moral authority. You're an honest person. You will not mislead me. You will not misguide me. I trust you. Moral authority. And one more, we call it charismatic authority. Right? People follow you not because they have to follow you, but because they want to follow you. What authority do you have in your teams? Is it only structural authority? Do people listen to you because they have to listen to you? The moment they don't have to listen to you, say everybody goes to the boss's dad's funeral because the boss's dad passed away. How many will go to the boss's funeral when the boss is no longer there, right? My friends, as I wrap up, I hope the session's just giving you some food for thought. My apologies, the time is short. I got so much to tell you. But for another day, inshallah. About leadership in the new era. About the difference between transactional management, KPI, SMART objective, AACF, and transformational leadership, culture setting, emotionally intelligent, appreciation and recognition, stress, trust, fear. The leaders of the future will be obsessed with that. Remember, the happiest people in life are those that are surrounded by tried, tested, and trusted relationships. Money helps. But the happiest people in life are those that have 5, 10, 100, 200 people in their life. When they needed something, they called someone, they said, what do you need? A car, you need money, you need a house? What do you need? Do you have tried, tested, and trusted relationships at work and out of work? Because remember, you cannot get trust without giving trust. You cannot get trust without giving trust. It's like managers who tell their employees, you can trust me. The employee says, boss, you trust me. Do you have people in your life you can trust to pack your parachute? You know what I mean? Do you have people in your life you can trust to pack your parachute? These, in Arabic we say qanaa, and rida, and contentment, and satisfaction. It comes not from the outside, it comes from the inside. So I hope when you get back to your work environment, today as you drive home after the session, with all the robotics and artificial intelligence stuff we've been speaking about with technology, remember there are 3 P's: product, process, people. I wanted to take some time not to talk about process, not to talk about product, but to talk about people. Thank you so much for your time. Maybe 3 minutes if you'd like to share anything. If you love to hear from you. Any questions, any comments?
So Umar, whenever you launch your company, I will be your first employee.
Thank you so much. Well, actually, I do have my own
We're
set
not
of
going to be
questions.
any of the brain cards.
We do have obviously the Gathering platform from which I'm doing a lot of my learning and development interventions. Just one thing for a mention. Please don't think that I'm saying that the world of performance management is finished now. I'm not saying country cloud. I'm saying this obsession with F, the obsession with walking around trying to catch people doing something wrong. 60-40 balance maybe, just to shift the balance over to culture setting, not just performance setting. 2 more minutes maybe. Any other questions? Any other questions? Any thoughts? Agree, disagree?
Yeah. I think one thing that if I can take away from your session is about people becoming people, like it's back to human values in many ways, because we become more result oriented. We've lost touch with our human values, like you said, having a trusted, having that selfless effort or selflessness in our values, which is in a way selfish as well, because you are generating a culture of your organization, but you have to start with something selfless. Yeah, go back to your human values.
It's interesting, right? I find like, anybody remember a company called Lehman Brothers? Remember Lehman Brothers, right? First one to go bust, right? In 2008, it went bust. 2007 was the most profitable year for Lehman Brothers history. Do profits come before people, or do profits bring good people, or do good people bring profits? The last CEO of Lehman Brothers had a private elevator built for himself in the back of the building, so he wouldn't have to say good morning to hundreds of people coming in the morning. They stopped listening to their people. And their best people started to leave. By the way, a big red flag for your team is if your best people start to leave. The first sign there's something wrong with your organization is when your best people, not the worst people stay, right? It's like your best people start to leave, right? That's the first red flag. Maybe one last comment, one last question. Any thoughts? Anything around what we said? KPIs, KRA, smart, smarter, fear, trust, happiness, this idea of management versus leadership. You speak now or you hold your peace forever. Anybody else? Any thoughts on this? Love to hear from you. What's happening in accounting, the Big Four? Go ahead.
Yes, what I want to highlight is, of course, you need leaders, and leadership is most very valuable and important. But in all workplaces, you need managers as well. There will be people who don't understand like the importance of leadership. Their nature of their work, the operations, which ultimately is going to have the overall objectives of your KRAs and everything. But they need to be managed like managers, because they don't have that much those perceptions. So they need to be balanced. So consistently.
Okay. Just your name, sir?
Murad Ali.
So, Murad, absolutely. This is why I talked about authority. There is this idea of leadership at every level, right? So, authority, structural management has nothing to do with leadership. Like you have managers who are not leaders, and you've got non-managers who are leaders, right? People, if they have a problem, they don't go to their manager, they go to this other person. That's why I asked you that question. But to your point, a big asterisk mark that I want to draw, that all this elevation of mindset and KPI, KRA, smart, smarter, evangelical speech that I've just given you, there's an asterisk that it doesn't, there's situational leadership, right? There's adaptive leadership. So if you have a highly immature team, or the relationships are not so strong, you need a little bit of telling. But if you don't move from telling to participative to delegating, which is Ken Blanchard's situational leadership model, then you will create followers, not leaders. You'll create very good followers, but that's all you will do. Followers, not leaders. I am cognizant of Mr. Khurram Ishaq. Khurram is going to obviously spend a little bit of time going back to this topic of the workplace and how in accounting, finance, and in the typical day-to-day stuff that you guys do, how is this idea of change, evolution, artificial intelligence playing a role? I'm going to request him if 35 minutes would work. Sorry to push you. I know the ambassador's here, so I'm cognizant of his time as well. Please give a big round of applause to Mr. Khurram.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. So I was just thinking, sitting there, that after Umar's session, when he has made the realization go to the next level and understanding at the left brain, the right brain, it's going to be so difficult for me to pull off, take you guys back to the normal world. But I think very inspirational, excellent session. I had the first time opportunity to hear Umar. Everything made sense. And I would try to bring some synergy to what Umar mentioned, maybe more in an innovation manner as anything, opposed to changing the stereotypes. Maybe tech or digital is one thing that's changing the world, and some of the companies Umar mentioned have gone out of business. So I think there is a reality check there to realize how things could happen. But I would love to see an organization one day which sort of lives the values as Umar mentioned. And believe me, there are organizations like this which are changing the way we live our lives, And you have so many names, Google, Facebook, Uber. Has anyone heard of Scale AI? So Scale AI is one of those unicorns which are launched on artificial intelligence. And a 19-year-old gentleman had launched it out of Silicon Valley, which is going to change the game. So I think these realities are there, but I'll try to be as quick as possible and try to finish in time. Let's get started with a reality check in a video. So we will try to talk digital as much as possible. I hope I'm being audible to everyone in the hall. So I think one of the things that I want to get started with, and we'll take 5 minutes of doing this, and I think this is something that I would do with your help, is a quick survey. And I think this is also a reality check, pretty much synergizing with what Umar had mentioned earlier, but I would like to run this survey. And what I want to do in this survey is I want to ask you, all of you, and I think I would really appreciate all of you participating. Tell me how many years did it take to reach out to 50 million users for each of the inventions I'm going to show you. So let's get started with this one. So I think pretty much you guys are young here, but some of you would have used this device and you would know how to dial a call from this. But how many years do you think would have taken for this invention to go to 50 million users?
100 years? 40 years, yeah.
69 years.
100 years?
100 years.
20.
20 years.
27.4 years.
Sorry. It never, yeah, that would also take into consideration. But anyone from this table? 30. 30. This is your chance to speak. Anyone who hasn't spoken can get their views pretty much. 100 years. So it took 75 years for this technology to reach out to 50 million users, and it did reach out to 50 million users.
I meant the analog system.
Correct, yeah. It did reach out to 75 million, it did reach out to 50 million users, but it took a lot of time. Some people kept it for the sake of just having it, as an antique maybe. But How about this one? Who in the hall does not recognize what it is? Is there anyone? 80, 85 years, yeah?
50, 50.
50? 50.
100 plus.
100 plus. 30. How about that last table?
It's less than 75.
No idea.
It has to be
Yes, 50.
That's how presentation goes.
38 years.
Has to be less than the previous one. Has to be less than.
This radio, yeah, didn't reach out to 38 years.
Next to 19.
How about this one?
19 years.
20,
27.
11, 22 years.
It reached 50 million users. Yeah.
22 years.
Some smart people will start putting a pattern already. Yeah. So this is the good thing about talking to the finance people. It took 13 years for this to reach out to 50 million. How about World Wide Web? Which we
5
call
years.
WWW. Does anyone know what was there before World Wide Web? How did we access internet? Was there an internet before World Wide Web? Intranet. Okay. But internet would be more local, office. But how did people connect in a public network before World Wide Web? I think most are the young people here, I would assume. Maybe I'm one of those that have seen that happening. But before World Wide Web, people used to use bulletin board threads, which we call BBS. You used to dial in a private network, you have username, password, and all those modem modulation, demodulation sounds in the modem, and then you get connected. So you could have connected sitting here into a US network, private network. Yeah. But World Wide Web, when www came, I think which was the browser, first browser, does anyone remember? So you know you have that generation which knows only two browsers. Either Explorer or Netscape. Was there anything before that? Has anyone heard of Mosaic? So there used to be Mosaic before that. And some of the developers of Mosaic had launched Netscape Navigator. So when www was launched, it took 4 years for the World Wide Web to reach out to 50 million users. So you could see the pattern. And how about Facebook? Who does not use Facebook here? So I could also be part of the community. Anyway, any guesses?
1 year.
3 years.
1 year.
9 months.
9 months.
3.5 years. Because still people were not used to. What was there before Facebook? Anyone?
Orkut.
MySpace was the most famous one. 65 million users. So radio changed into something called the iPod. That was the modern invention. This is where Steve Jobs completely brought a big change to the company in terms of what you see as products today. Has anyone used iPod?
Long time ago.
Must be kept now just as a device, completely useless because you could do pretty much all of that on your phone. But it took almost 3 years for this new invention, which changed the play. What was there before iPod? We used to listen to songs.
CD player.
Tape.
Walkman.
Walkman.
Walkman used to be there. We used to put a cassette, and pretty much used to work like that. So here we're talking about iPad. So this was like the invention which came after iPod, more advanced version, changed the whole play. This was the invention of tablets, if you guys remember. Any idea? 50 million users.
1 year.
Any guesses?
1 year.
Less than a year.
18 months. Who uses Twitter here? I think it's a much better product than Facebook. 50 million users.
1 year, 5.
9 months.
9 months.
Has to go down.
Instagram. Who does not use Instagram?
It does not use.
Does not, yes. I think it's mostly millennials which Umar was talking about. This is and I think Yasser is pretty much from the millennials, so he has every right to use Instagram. But Instagram was was reached 50 million users in just 6 months. And now you can imagine the power. Google Plus, has anyone heard of this?
Yes.
Google Plus?
Yep.
It was a product which was being mentioned to sort of launch something in competition to Facebook.
Yep.
It reached out to 50 million users in 88 days. Does anyone use it today? And why Google doing a product 88 days, it has reached out to 50 million users, still got closed. This gives a very strong messaging that in today's day and age, the tech can reach out to subscribers, but if the quality is not good, it's not going to work. So the KPI is no more reaching out to 50 million users. The KPI is you need to have something tangible as well. Angry Birds.
3 months.
25 days. I like your precision. Anyone else?
1 month.
35 days. So very close. Very close. Last but not the least, Pokemon Go.
10 days. 10 days.
3 days.
1 day.
It took 19 days for this product to reach out to 50 million users. And you could imagine there are products which are reaching out to 50 million users even faster than that as we speak. This is the power of tech. This is some of the things Umar was talking about as a reality check in the business world. So one option is you continue with the stereotype methods. The other is to realize and embrace the changing world. Do we have an option? We have no option. Are we controlling it? No, we are not controlling. Question, who's controlling it? Nobody knows. The digital transformation is coming, and it's coming for real. So the world has seen so far 3 kinds of revolutions. The first one was mechanical 1700, electrical 1800, and last, I think 1900, electronics and IT. And now we are in the fourth industrial revolution. How would you name the fourth industrial revolution?
IoT.
IoT. Any other name? Digital. Big data. AI. Blockchain. Bots. But what all of them are doing, which is common in all of these technologies? Automation. Anything else? Ease of business. Connectivity. Connected. The fourth industrial revolution we are living in is connected. And I think that this one word should give you a lot. But just moving on quickly, as you saw, 19 days it takes to reach out to 50 million users. The second important benchmark that we know today is the extreme experiences customers are. All of you are customers when you go to a mall and you want to buy a suit, you walk into a nice outlet, you expect that outlet to tell you everything about you, have the database. You don't want to waste time explaining. So this is what we call as the seamless experience. 87% of people along the lines of the global survey we have done want seamless experience. This is the minimum expectation when you go and buy. 50 billion devices by 2020 are going to be connected to the internet. All right, and I think you will see another interesting survey there. Digital natives. So millennials is something Umar talked about, but there's another term very common now called digital natives. Maybe most of us are digital immigrants who are not born in the age of digital. So we are immigrants in the digital world. But then there are people who are digital natives. So people of the Facebook, that's the Scale AI, Googles, they are all digital natives. But interesting benchmark by 2025, based on the study we have conducted, almost 75% of the workforce in an organization is going to be digital natives. And this is something Umar talked about. So very, very correct, Umar. 75% will be digital natives. So this is the message Umar gave that, look, you got to change, otherwise the change is coming. So this is very well tested. Now, I'm not going to go too much in detail on this one because we are running out of time. But I will just touch base on a few of these things here. For example, it takes 2.2 seconds to the CIO of a very big retail company, Walmart, to know everything about the origin of a product. And various supply chain stages, the product has gone. So you pick up any product from Walmart, not all, but most of the products they have put on blockchain today. The power of the blockchain technology, you can know the whole supply chain in just 2.2 seconds, so you would know if you take a butter or anything that where exactly it's coming from, which country, in just 2.2 seconds. And this is the power of blockchain technology. And if you get time, I'll show you something around that. I want to run this video to give you a reality check, because I think a lot of messaging that I want to do and you should know is in this. Bertie Ahern is a futurist, and he has a very close eye on how quickly the future is changing. Let's have a quick look at that.
Once upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to invade in: you. Right now, you are a central point in the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation, while the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn and think. The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it? Disruption has become the new normal. With change, it's always gradually, then suddenly, well, things really have stopped happening gradually. This change is exponential. Everything that used to be dumb and disconnected is now wired and intelligent. Cars, cities, ports, farms, even our bodies will be wired with sensors and will talk to each other. These game changers are also combinatorial. They amplify each other, creating a perfect storm of change. Quantum computing fuels big data. The Internet of Things fuels artificial intelligence and deep learning, which fuels robotics. However, anything that cannot be digitized or automated will become extremely valuable. Human-only traits such as creativity, imagination, intuition, emotion, and ethics will be even more important in the future, because machines are very good at simulating, but not at being. Yes, robots and software will do some of our work, but this will allow us to focus on things that cannot be automated. To imagine change squared, you've got to start engaging more with what might be, not just with what is. Immerse yourself in the immediate future, 5 to 7 years out from today. We need to go beyond technology and data to reach human insights and wisdom. Technology represents the how of change, but humans represent the why. The future is about holistic business model. The opportunity is to be liquid, to learn just in time, not just in case, not single improvements, but complete transformations, not individual systems, but new ecosystems. Humanity is where true and lasting value is created. We will engage, rate, and buy things because of the experiences they provide, because of their transformative power. The future doesn't just happen. The future gets happened. The new way to work is to embrace technology, but not to become it. The future is in technology, yet the bigger future lies in transcending it. Let's live and lead from here.
So I think I wanted to play this video. There were some 2-3 key messages here. One of the most important message is that the technology defines the what of things, but the humans define the why of things. And I think Omar talked about the why part. Why part is so important that I think you should feel very relaxed that when robots come on board, it does not mean that humans are losing the jobs, because humans are the inventors of the robots that we are talking about. Hence, humans would always be there to define the why and where exactly do you need them. Very quickly, I'm not going to cover all of them because Umar just told me the deadline of the timing. All the session was so interesting. I loved the session. I didn't know when to stop him. But I think we will try to finish in time. I think the summary of this slide is there's too much investment happening globally on technologies like AI, blockchain, bots, and similar technologies. So there's absolutely no two other ways than knowing the fact that the change is coming, and we have no option to embrace that change. Now, coming to the specific topic of intelligent automation, I'll show you some of the real-time examples. But very quickly, when we say intelligent automation, what exactly do we mean? So robotic process automation, or RPA, represents those jobs in an organization which are rule-based, which are repetitive, and which have high volume. So volume can be high or medium or low, but rule-based and repetitive in nature. All of those jobs today could be automated by robots, and I'll show you some examples. And since you are the finance people, I have absolutely no two ways in saying that finance is the brain of an organization, which gives you guys a lot of leverage to sort of be the first ones to embrace the change and take the change on. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword for you. If you don't change, it could become very critical for you. So almost 60% of the organization processes are mapped to RPA. Most of them are finance processes. So in finance alone, there could be 60, 70, 80 range % process which could be automated. I'll try to share some examples with you. Cognitive RPA, where machine learning comes in, has a lesser percentage, in the range of 15 to 20. Chatbots, whereby the natural language processing is coming, is also less in percentage, almost 10 to 15%, and I'll show you one actual product around that. You'll get a good understanding. AI, which is the most important thing, and I think it just reconfirms some of the things that Umar mentioned, is almost 10% range, 10 to 15% in an organization, which shows you how much of thinking process happens in an organization. Because we are in a commoditized business, finance is very well structured. A lot of things in finance are same in every organization. Now with this, I'll try to show you an example, and this example is for a company in Dubai, whereby we have automated the invoice posting process. So I think it will pretty much reflect how you see your processes as well. this is completely delivered by the bot. So it's an SAP environment, multiple conditions, multiple situations. The entire process of actually posting the invoice, comparing with executing the 3-way match process, comparing with the PO, GRN, taking approval, sending emails, everything was done by the bot. And this is done for a very large company here in Dubai. And the purpose of showing you this was, and you saw how intricate details the bot was able to pull off. Logging into ERP, going into relevant screen, and pretty much executing it. Now you can imagine consolidation, reconciliations, AR, AP, you name it, and we are actually automating all those processes. So the purpose of showing you this was that the tech is pretty much real and the tech is happening. I'll try to run another one to show you the process around. So this is for a very large group in Saudi Arabia, whereby we're given the FSCP process, financial statement close process. And this entity has a lot of subsidiaries around the globe, and they have to take the numbers in, and then they have to consolidate it. So just have a look at this one as well. saw this one. Any comments from anyone? You saw how the entire consolidation of 3 days was done in just 1 hour. And we are talking about all difficult things you could imagine when you have to do reporting at the group holding level, and you have subsidiaries which have all kind of problems in the data. So the tech was able to do the entire ETL, which is, I don't want to be too technical, but extract, transform, load process through bot. So a lot of people say, oh, but our company, and this was exactly the case of this particular time. The CFO said that, look, I have all the problems you could imagine. Despite having the ERP system, the data is not right, people aren't doing things correct, everything's in the Excel. How are you going to do this? How a robot can do it? And you saw that we were able to, without changing the underlying tech, able to deliver it. This is the power of technology as we speak. So if someone has in mind that, no, but our organization has these rules, you can create a rule engine, and the tech actually simulates human behavior. And I don't want to talk about theory, hence I wanted to show you the actual thing, how it happens. So we'll take 1 or 2 questions, and then I'll probably share with you some more thing on AI as well. Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you, Varun. I think one of the questions I have often found in organizations is justifying the cost benefit and whether it's worth, like, normally when you approve any investment, you have an ROI, you have return against it. And for these type of initiatives which are to an extent transformative, but you still have your headcount, you still have your payroll cost, you still have your systems, ERPs, maintenance, etc. This is just simplifying the process, which might be reducing a few hours, but companies are still like reluctant to take the leap forward. Like, there are some companies doing it. I'm saying that that large scale move towards automation is still something maybe evolving gradually rather than happening radically as it should be.
So I think it's a very good question. And
Can I add to this question?
Please.
So let me answer it one time. Because I work for an insurance company and I work with digital journeys. One challenge which we get to face when we talk technology with our management is that technology is evolving so fast that if you're creating and investing in new platforms today, we as business managers cannot put a number to it that how soon can we break even the cost by that investment. Means, if I'm investing in 2 years ago in a normal chatbot, today it is going into AI. Perhaps there will be something else in the future. So how do I as a business manager keep on justifying the cost and keep on investing back in technology? That way I will never be able to earn or recover what I've invested in.
Excellent question. I think 2 very good questions. Anyone has anything else to add? I'll answer.
I think I'll just, if I could
Adil,
add
please,
to
yeah.
Irfan's question, what would be useful is, from your perspective, what are the hurdles or the challenges that companies in this region have for adopting blockchain, RPA, automation, innovation? Clearly, there's a lot of investment going on elsewhere in the world. So why not here? So your views would be very insightful.
I think 3 very good questions.
Bottom line, what is the bottom line by doing all these things?
Yes, yes. Totally. You could imagine, I have studied engineering in NAP, basically. And when I was choosing engineering, my friends chose accounting and chartered accountants, and we are friends for all this. But some way the life happened for me that since I did my engineering, I never made my CV for engineering. I have been working with tech, and from day one I've been working with the CFOs. So I totally understand this thing, and who I sell solutions is to CFOs, primarily, in finance department. So all these questions are perfect. I'll go very quickly, because you are number people, you are ROI people, you are bottom line, top line people. First of all, very quickly, one bot, the price of one bot is typically $8,000 to $10,000 range per year. That's the price of our bot, license fee that you pay annual. So that's your salary. That's the only salary you're going to pay to a bot. What does a bot do? A bot typically can replace 3 to 5 FTEs. 3 to 5 FTEs completely. This is the benchmark of a typical bot in a finance process. So you could imagine how much salaries and money you pay to 3 to 5 people in a year, which are going to be replaced by $10,000 typically a year. That's the price of a bot. That's number one. Number two, in terms of savings in ROI, your question was on ROI. One of the benchmark on ROI is typically less than a year. So imagine you invest $1 million in this technology, which would be license fee plus the fee of a consulting firm which will come in and do it. All of this money is coming back to you in less than a year because I gave you the secret behind it. 3 to 5 FTEs could be saved. saved in a way that they could be reinvested back into business. We generally don't encourage the model in which you let people go, rather reinvest them back, do the talent transformation, and reinvest them back into business. To your question, sir, now these are running on the platforms, and tech is evolving. I think one good thing which has happened is platforms like, I don't want to be too technical, but platforms like UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, Pegasus, these platforms are now evolving in a way that you can embed AI into it. So let's say you saw the invoice posting process that I did. Later on, you could embed a lot of AI into it, which would be platform independent and can integrate, could be integrated. So a lot of decisions that humans are still making. For example, review of the invoice. If you see that the human is still working as attended, human could become completely unattended because the tech has a lot of, power in it. Tech has a lot of trust in it. So that, I think the platform compatibility is pretty open. The other big thing with these platforms is that they are not interfacing. You do not have to design an interface, they log in like a human to a technology. So if you bring a robot, just like human logs into ERP system, they log into consolidation system, they log into HR system, a bot will use a username and a password and log into that and deliver exactly like a human. So there's no interface issue there. That's
To agree, I understand challenge, the real practical challenges. Like the country we are in right now, there are a lot of, in Pakistan back home as well, a lot of companies are operating on legacy systems. And what you are talking about is a leapfrog, it's a next generation. Now, yes, I agree that the maintenance cost of that would be per annum, let's say $10,000, which will save me a lot of money every year. But at the same time, the migration or connecting my core existing platforms to this, I think that's also a cost where managements are reluctant to invest in these kind of times.
So
how to handle that?
Yeah, I think there is absolutely no change in the legacy platform. As I mentioned to you, just like humans log into the old legacy system with a username and a password, so a robot which has to log into a legacy system would do exactly that. So you don't have to change your base legacy platform, no matter what platform you're using. Just absolutely able to do all what I showed you in a very legacy system as well. Coming back to Adil's question, I think it's a very good question. In this part of the world, my challenge was to, my other challenge is what Oman is telling me, more prevalent challenge and pervasive challenge. But Adil, to your point, I think it's a very good question. We started this journey in this part of the world 2 years back. Today, we are scaling up organizations, complete transformation. The videos that I showed you are for the existing clients in MENA. And now they are ready to invest because we are able to communicate to them, answer their tech questions, IT, business on board, and we're able to solve this equation. But one important point here before I show you the last video is that people generally tend to think this is a technology solution. And this is where organizations are going wrong. This is not a technology solution. This is a business solution. So we work with the CFOs, we work with the financial controllers, we understood their challenges. People have to be on the job. You cannot just come in and say, hey, people have to let go, and this is not the solution of the problem. So the way we solved this problem was we understood the priorities and the objective of the finance department. And then we designed the whole tech. And then we identified talent, transformation, new job descriptions for the people. And we were able to sell to the top management that these people who we are relieving with a very good ROI in a year's time. I think the blueprint that we presented to the top management was very attractive. And the top management also said that, look, if my cost remains the same and you're giving me back all of my money, all my capex in 1 year, I think it's net saving for me. So we actually convinced them to reinvest those humans back into business and other departments, which gave them a lot of opportunity to just actually scale their skills, which they have been doing. And nothing better than finance people. When I say finance is the brain of the organization, I have a lot of respect for the finance people. They have the amazing opportunity right now, knowing all the insights of the company. Everything finally comes to finance. If they use these technologies, I think they can completely transform the business. And I think transformation or transcending from chief financial officer to chief value officer, your platform has to be digital. That's the only way you could achieve it. I would have, shown. I would have loved to show you a lot of things, but since we are running out of time, and what I'll do, I'll just show you one last piece. This one is called, we call it 5-Odd, and ESCA had ran a local competition, Emirates, the UAE Securities and Commodities Authority, Emirates Security and Commodity Authority, across all the organizations on Innovation Challenge, and we won first prize on that. I think the product will speak for itself, and I'll end just after that.
Good morning, Phi.
Good morning, Mr. Stevens. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Phi. How about you?
I am doing great. My battery is fully charged and I am ready to support you. How would you like to start your day?
I would like to make some important decisions about the business. Can you start by showing me the consolidated income statement for the last 5 years?
Certainly. Here is the consolidated income statement from 2012 to 2016.
Can you perhaps create a bar chart showing net profit and a line on the same chart for G&A expenses?
Certainly. Here is the chart showing net profit and G&A expenses.
Why is there a dip in net profits in 2015?
I will investigate. One of your G&A expenses increased abnormally in 2015. More specifically, your advertising and staff residential expense increased by over 25% as compared to others which grew by only 2% to 3%. Here is a breakdown of your G&A expenses over the last 5 years with the abnormal increase highlighted in red.
Thank you, Phi. Can you please add the chart and G&A expenses on a slide?
Certainly. Here is the PowerPoint slide.
Please also change the heading to Advertising and Staff Residential Expenses have experienced abnormal growth of more than 25% in 2015.
Done.
Finally, can you please email me this slide and CC the Finance Director? In the subject, please write, Dear John, please develop a strategy to control expenses for the next 3 months.
Email sent successfully. Can I help you with anything else?
Yes, please. Can you show me my calendar for today? Please tell me what meetings I have.
You have 3 meetings today. The first is at 11 a.m. with Mr. Bob, your legal counselor. The second meeting at 1:30, which is a lunch with your wife. The third meeting at 4 p.m. with Mr. Jerry, the board member.
I see. Can you please reschedule my lunch meeting for tomorrow and resend the invite?
Done. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Thank you, Phi. That will be all for today.
Have a good day, Mr. Stevens.
I'll just conclude my session. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure meeting you. And special thanks to Yasir for inviting me for this. This was my first ICAP session. We were running out of time, but if you want to know more about this, I would be very glad to come and actually customize it for your companies. That's what we do. Thank you so much.
All right, folks, thank you so much for an excellent presentation. We are reaching the end of our session. A couple of things left. First of all, let me also thank you for your patience as well. Like I told you, standing between you and lunch is a dangerous place. However, I think the best part of the day is still to come. We're very honored, obviously, considering that this is ICAP, proud of the country that we're from, proud of the culture we represent. What better place to talk about the accomplishments of Pakistan and of Pakistanis than in this forum. On that note, I will request the ambassador of Pakistan to the UAE to come and say a few words. Please, a big round of applause to the ambassador.
Thank you, Umar. I'm very pleased to be here today. This is the first time that I'm here to join with you in this event, and I'm very grateful to Mr. Irfan and Dr. Faisal, who had extended invitation to me that to come and join in this event. I was really impressed by the talk by Mr. Umar. The subject he was speaking on the issue, it is very, very dry, very complicated. But the way he was speaking, the way he was engaging everyone is really commendable. I really salute you. Professional competence and the way you have engaged in your the whole talk. It was very informative for me also, and I think you have highlighted very important issues like the fear of failure. And that's very important. I think what we also learn that for the leadership, that is also very, very important. And for each profession, each professional who is working, this is a thing which always get kept in mind, which is the fear of failure. And likewise, the transformational thing is really something which we all are going through. And the second lecture, you see, Mrs. Ricky has also, it was very important that the digitization has, how it has impacted on us, how, you see, taking from the initial inventions like the telephone, which took 75 years, as you mentioned, to reach 15 million people, and now the latest thing is taking few days, and maybe next time it may be few hours to reach 20 million. I was also sometimes wondering that after this interact, and all we have smartphones in your pockets, and you're always connected. So you were also saying something, the connectivity. And it has also brought a big challenge. I'm sitting here and I'm continuously receiving messages from different quarters, and they do expect that I should also respond. And sometimes if you don't respond, they say, oh, so where are you? So this really has a big challenge. In your profession, I know this is a very, very important profession, but again, the challenge is transformation, challenge is adaptability to new technology, and I'm confident that all of you who are wherever you are working is something not only a challenge but the opportunity at the same time. I have missed in the morning session, but I'm confident that those two sessions would have been very informative, very, very important for all of you, and especially the sessions I attended. I have also learned a lot from this. I'm proud of you. You are all professionals. You are all Pakistani. You represent your institutions, very prominent institutions in Pakistan. So ICAP chapter, I'm told that it's a quite big number here, around over 800 people. Professionals are registered in this chapter. Pakistan Embassy and all of you, we are same. We are doing whatever we can for the country. You're doing good thing. So you are giving good name. You are bringing good name for the country. You are bringing good name to Pakistan. So we do count on your support. You can also count on us. Our embassy, our consul general consulate there is also open for any help, any assistance, any coordination. My doors are open. Abu Dhabi is not too far from here. So whoever comes to Abu Dhabi wants to see me, just give me a message. I will be very pleased to meet anyone of you. I'm very glad. I know that Dubai is a place of happenings. Although I am placed in Abu Dhabi, but it gives me every week at least 2-3 trips to Dubai, and I'm very happy that I'm having interaction with our people, our professionals. You are doing a great job, and I wish you all the best in your wherever you are working. So all the best.
If you don't mind, I just ask you to stay up on the stage. Just as the final part of our event, if I can just have the management committee, please, of ICAP UAE chapter, just please come up. They're going to give just a few shields to recognize some of the people who worked very hard, not only to put this event together, but also some of the work that's been going on. So I'm going to hand it over to Irfan. Once the ceremony is done, I'll just take 30 seconds of your time just to wrap up the session and release you to society and see what happens.
Thank you very much, Omar. Dr. Faisal, if I can ask you to come on the stage. stage. I think we have to distribute shields to our chief guest, obviously, Mr. Ghulam Mustaqi, I think. And then we have our sponsors to thank, as well as the speakers, and more importantly, every one of you as well. So if I can ask first Dr. Faisal to do shield distribution to His Excellency. If I can ask our speaker forum to receive from investor this shield for thanks for us. Thank you very much, Mr. and Dr. Faisal as well. We'll just do a final vote of thanks to our sponsors as well, but thank you very much for it. I can request all our sponsors for this event, which are AGMC BMW, I've got Mystic Advertising, ATH, and Ahmed Al-Jabri, to maybe come on the stage and we just distribute shields to them. Alia, if you can come forward. Asman from Mystic. Yasser, Vice Chairman of Managing Committee, will be doing the shield distributions. Asman from Mystic.
Nice smile. Yes. Thank you, Sneha.
Usman Alam from ADH. Thank you very much, everyone. I think as the last thing, all the volunteers and teams which have been helpful in organizing this event as well as our UAE chapter events. If I can ask all of them to come on the stage. Nafar, Atif, Kashif, Kushbu, Asfalyar, Quram, Hassan Mahmood, please give them a round of applause. I think without them,
excellent.
We look forward to more of you, Salman. Yes. Please don't be shy. It's about the team. It's not one or two individuals. I think everything is a team effort.
I was not part of it.
So there are a lot of people who I can still see yesterday, but and senior members as well. Thank you very much for all of your help and support. We will have one final photograph with everyone trying to be on the stage. The stage is not full.
I think we can do it downstairs somewhere.
I'll let the experts set it up.
Just one more time, guys. Give me a round of applause for the volunteers. What an job. Our our job is easy, come talk and then we can leave, but the preparation and planning. A big thank you to all of you for taking the time out on a Saturday. I hope you've picked up some interesting stuff. I hope you've got some food for thought in terms of where the world is going and what role you'll be playing. My only request to you is it takes 21 days to shape habit, right? So it takes roughly about 3 weeks for something to become habit. One of the questions, one of the things I'd like for you to think about as you go home today is something practical, something pragmatic, something that you can put or change into your work environment tomorrow, next week. If it's the leadership stuff, if it's the automation stuff, if it's this idea of the width that Harim spoke about. Mr. Rajiv in the morning, I think, set up the case brilliantly for the why this change is happening. Love for you guys to take 2 or 3 practical ideas, and hopefully the next time that we meet at the next conference, you'll have an opportunity to talk about a best practice, something you did that you were able to implement and have an impact on your business. On that note, on behalf of Gadline Management Consultancy and myself, Mahaya, thank you so much for hanging out with us. A big round of applause to you for a great day. If you can all come up here, we'll try to tackle this Pakistani style somehow. If you all want to come up here, take a group picture, and then we'll out for lunch. Thank you so much. Please join us here for the picture. Thank you so much.
We have a thought for food. Camera